So welcome to my work solutions for the Edexcel Higher GCSE from the summer of 2019. And this one is paper one, so let's go. Starts off with some fractions. It's a show question, so don't be tempted to reach for the calc. You can see what it says in terms of turn top heavy and hope you get your answer right. So keep the bottoms the same. Don't do too much. It's a show question. Don't do too much in one step. All right, don't go flipping in all that malarkey just yet. All right, it's 3 marks. It's a show question. Show 4 lines of working out is about what you're after. So big times bottom, 4 3s are 12 plus the top. Same here, big times bottom, 1 9s are 9 plus 1. There we go. Now we can KFC it. And you can either go straight for top times top, bottom times bottom, or do a bit of pre-cancelling. That divides by 3, as does that. That divides by 2, as does that. So now with top times top and bottom times bottom, 5 into 21, we know we've smashed it. Easy 3 marks, on we go. Number 2, I've cheated because me and technology, yep, it's just embarrassing. So I've drawn it on already, but let's talk through about where everything's come from and how to do the other parts. So question 8, on her journey, yes, she stops there, but it's asking you really about which one is faster. Now you could go about just saying that the first part of her journey was the fastest because it's the steepest, but let's do a bit more maths to it. So for the first part of the journey, she travels 15 kilometres in 1 hour, which is obviously 15 kph or kmh, depends on how you want to. Second part of the journey is 9 because she goes from 15 to 24, and so it's distance divided by 3/4 of an hour, and that'll spit out 12. And so it's a bit more maths to it. I know it's only worth 1 mark, but you know, it's just a bit cleverer than saying it's steeper on the first part of the journey, but it's only a 1 marker, so don't overthink or overcomplicate. Then it tells us some more info, so I'll just refer back. So it tells us that she stays at the park for 45 minutes. So you need to realise that each block is 1/4 of an hour. So you need to be horizontal line for 3 squares, and then she basically goes home at a speed of 16 kilometres per hour. So as you can tell, she needs to travel 24 kilometres. So you need to do 24 kilometres is the distance. Speed is 16. It's going to take her 1.5 hours. So if you have a look, that's 1/4. So you need to go on 6 small squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because that's 6 lots of 15. Now then we've got part C. I'll stay on this page for this. It says work out the average cycling speed. So total distance, ignoring the rests, the staying stills, total distance is 48 kilometres, 24 there, 24 back. Then we only care about her moving time. First part of the journey, again, ignore the flat bit. She's actually moving. You can count the squares however you want. She's moving for 1.5 hours. And for the second part of the journey, we've already done the calculation. Sorry, for the first part, she's travelling for 1.75. Sorry, second part, first part of the journey. So she's moving for a total of 3.25 hours. Well, there's your maths. Distance divided by time gives you speed. I got 14.769, but don't forget to do as you're told, 14.8 to 1 decimal place. Number 3, couple of laws of indices to kick off. So when you divide, you must subtract the powers. When you have a power to a power, it's multiply the powers. I'm sure some of you expand and simplify straight away, particularly when they're reasonably straightforward. It's entirely up to you. I'll do it the long way, all the loops, minus 2x plus 9x minus 18, and our x terms simplify. So we've got -2, positive 9, ending up with positive 7x, and minus 18 on the end. So for part D, it's one of them, I think they're quite tricky. Students I've taught do find them tricky when there's loads of letters flying around. So let's do the numbers first. Highest common factor of 16 and 20 is 4, and you need 4 4s and 4 5s. Now, when you get loads of letters, think about what c to the 4 looks like. Times p squared and c p cubed. So if you've got loads of letters, I think it's better to do it this way. Cross out common pairs. There's a couple of p's in them both, so they can be taken out. There's one c in them both. They can be taken out. That can be taken out, shall I say. And now you've got your leftovers. There's CCC there. That means c cubed. And there's just a p there. So just a p there. Can go wrong then, so take your time. Number 4, as always, I've cheated and copied it from my worked solutions. But let's fill in the table. When it's a quadratic, you're always looking for symmetry. All right, so when you sub in 1 into your calc, 1 squared minus 3 minus 1, you get -3. So there's your line of symmetry. So you don't need to work this out. That's -1. And you don't need to work that out. That's 3. So the only other one you've got to work out is -2. Now, if you are going to use your calculator, make sure you're careful on the brackets. -2 squared is 4. Minus 3 lots of -2 is +6. So you end up with a 9 for your last coordinate. And no, I didn't make a mistake there. So don't forget, when you plot them, take extra care. Don't do what I did. But when you join them, smooth curve and freehand. Number 5. They crop up all the time, these missing probabilities. The main part is they all add up to 1. So what adds up to 1? Well, if you count the x's, there are 8 x's in the list, and the numbers add up to 0.44. So that means we subtract 0.44 from both sides, and we've basically got our x. But as always, there's more to it than this. Work out an estimate for the number of times it will land on an even number. So when you're estimating, you do the amount of times you're doing the experiment, and it's multiplied by the probability of the thing happening which you want to happen. So even numbers, 0.18. 3 x's, that's 3 lots of 0.07. And you've got your 6 for your last even number. And stick all that in your calculator, and you should end up with 92. And so for question 6, as soon as you see some keywords like density, etc., always worth writing down your DMV triangle. So to work out the mass, we need to do density multiplied by volume, and there we go. Oops, don't know it yet. So 12 times 8 times 5 gives you the volume of 480 centimetres cubed. Stick that in your calc again for 336 grams. Number 7, standard form. So part A, pretty standard. Power of 6 means millions, or power of 6 means move the decimal point 6 times. However you get there doesn't bother me, but it's 5,700,000 for the correct answer. Small numbers, don't forget, need negative powers. Nothing wrong with counting. You need to move it 3 times to get the number 4. And this one, it really means stick it in your calculator and see what you get. It doesn't ask for it in a particular form. Well, it's either 5 million in standard form or 5 million written normally. But that's what your calc gives, and the mark scheme's happy to have either. Number 8, we have basically price of something. It means the same as investing capital. Who cares? It's 170,000. It depreciates, so the multiplier is 0.92 and it needs to be cubed. So give your answer to the nearest dollar. I get 132,376.96. So round it off, 132,377 for a good old standard 3 mark percentages. Number 9. Read all the words, words. Ultimately, you've got to say to yourself, how do I find the area of a shape like that? Well, it's a circle or a semicircle. You can't work out the area of that semicircle without the diameter / radius. So, I'm afraid you've got to look into there. We need to do Pythagoras. We've got a right-angled triangle. So the distance from A to C, which is the diameter, and it is on the hypotenuse, so these 6 and 6 are squared and added, 6 root 2. But don't forget, that's the diameter. The formula, pi r squared, for a circle, it needs the radius. So we halve it. That now means we've got enough, because the area of the entire shape is going to be the semicircle. So a circle is pi times the radius squared, but we have a semicircle, we need to halve it, and we're going to add on area. Well, it doesn't look right angled, but don't forget it is right angled because that's how it's marked, which means we can do a half, and one of the sides is the base and one of the sides is the height. So if you've got a calculator which is a bit of a smart aleck, it'll tell you the answer is 9 pi plus 18. Don't forget to do as you're told. So it's 46.2743. So 1 decimal place, 46.3. Next. So a different one. Not seen one of these before. Write 8 lots of A. So 8 lots of A. Don't forget, there's a clue there. 8, it's a cube number. So if we're going to multiply this by 8, we're really going to times it by 2 cubed. And that's pretty much the logic behind the entire thing, because we just need to remember that when you multiply, you add the powers. So the power of 2 should be n plus 3. And the 3 and the 5 remain unchanged. Number 11, a very early upper bounds question. They're normally in the teens, aren't they, these? But it's because there's not a lot going on. But treat it the same as the rest. Start with the first information you're given and go up and down by half the rounding amount. The 15 for B, you go up and down by half the rounding amount. So we go up by 2.5 and down by 2.5. And now we follow a little bit of logic. Upper bound means what's the biggest we can make C? The biggest value of C will be gotten by picking the largest value of B and subtracting the smallest possible number from it, which ends up being 17.5 minus 5.5. Not the usual rounding off required, just a nice, easy answer at the end. So for question 12, now you could have a go at this and do it by trial and improvement if you want, guess some numbers. It's bound to be 2x and x, but never does any harm to practice the AC method. So 2 6s are 12. So while we make some room, we can be thinking of pairs of numbers that multiply together to make positive 12, but add together to make negative 7. And we'll go for minus 4 on the left and minus 3 on the right. If you got them the other way round, still correct. You just get the brackets factorising slightly differently, but you would end up with the same answer. It's just this third line, this line here, middle line, that would be different. So they've got a 2x in common. When we take it out, we're left with x minus 2 left behind. And here, in order to get a repeated bracket, we need to take out a negative 3, leaving us with the other bracket of being 2x minus 3, because don't forget the other bracket is the leftovers. Next, when we're solving, never a fan of that over 3, so we need to multiply everything by 3. So on the left hand side, it disappears. On the right hand side, everything trebles. Next, let's collect like terms, or how we want to think about it. Let's isolate the m's on the left hand side by adding 6m to both sides, while subtracting 9 from both sides, and divide both sides by 10. 12 over 10, 6 over 5, or 1.2, all will do the job. And question C, don't forget square root is power of a half, cube root is power of a third, so fourth root here is power of a quarter, and you're dividing by y, which has a power of 1. So when you are dividing, you subtract the powers, so it should be y to the minus 3/4. Number 13, pretty bog standard. No smokes and mirrors here, just nice and straightforward. Group C, we've got 6 girls. So girl being the top branch of each split, we've got to go for 6 over 14 and 8 over 14. And on group D, we've got 10 on the bottom, so it's 3 out of 10 for girls, 7 out of 10 for lads, and repeated for the other split. Work out the probability that there are 2 boys in the team. So going boy means bottom, so it's 8 over 14 multiplied by 7 over 10, which is 56 over 140. But if you've done it on your calc, it'll have cancelled it down to 2/5 for you. It says there, after the first team has been picked, a second team is picked. So the idea being, once you've picked your team, those students don't go back into the choice. So in order to work out the probability that there are 2 boys in each, well, we've already done boy boy. It gave us 2/5, or the equivalent of. So to get another team of boys, which would be multiply, you've got to reduce your numbers. So from group C, there's only 7 out of 13 for your first lad, and for your second lad, the 10 has now gone to 9, and there's only 6 of them. And so again, all on your calculator, I'm getting 28 over 195. Number 14, basically it's Venn diagrams, but without the Venn diagram. So the way I thought about it on my worked answers was, look at list A. Positive integers less than 20 is the universe we're working for. The list of A, you could write them out. I'd say, what's the point? Integers less than 12, meaning 1 up to and including 11. Whereas B can equal 7, but can't equal 16. Got to stop at 15. So list the members of the intersection. Don't forget, intersection is overlap. What numbers are in both groups? So that would be the smallest of 7, 8, 9, 10, and the upper limit of 11. So unfamiliar notation, that means C is a subset of A. What that means is, if you haven't seen it on a Venn diagram, if there's A and there's B, C is like that. C is a subset. All right. So the idea is C is such that C is a subset of A, and the number of elements in C is 3. So there's 3 numbers going to be in our answer. Given that all members of C are even. So the idea being, to be in C, it's got to be even and in A, because all of C are in A. So you can't go to 12 or higher. So that means 2, 4, and 6, because they are in the set of A, but they're also even. And yes, you could have had 8 and 10. Any 3 of them would sort you out for the mark. Number 15, as bog standard as it comes, put your calc to one side and do the same thing if you've revised properly, you should have done these umpteen times. Multiply it so that the digits which recur immediately follow the decimal point, and then multiply them to budge them up again. So we want the 5, 4 recurring to repeat, and that's 100 times bigger. So what's 100 times bigger than 10x? 1000x. And the idea of the recurrings being the same mean when you come to take them away, they cancel out. So really you only have to do 254 minus 2. And 1000x, take away x. So we're pretty much there. We've just got to remind the examiner that in order to find x, we do 252 over 990, and no prizes for guessing what that cancels down to. Number 16, arithmetic series. So don't forget there is a formula on your formula page for this. But let's make a note of the obvious things first. The first term is 7. It's going up in 3s. So the common difference is 3. And to have 100 terms in the sequence, n must be 100. So sum to 100, check out your formula page. It's n divided by 2 into 2 lots of A plus n minus 1 lots of D. Stick it all in your calc. Hopefully you get 15,550 because it's the right answer. Number 17. So the link is linear scale factor needs to be squared to get area or surface area scale factor, and cubed. You cube the linear scale factor to get the volume scale factor. So here, if we're talking height of 24, height of 36, the linear scale factor 36 divided by 24 is 1.5 or 3/2. So if you're now trying to link surface areas, we're going from A to B, so we're getting bigger, so we're multiplying, not dividing. But that would be the linear. This is area. It has to be squared. And the calc says 2,160. So I'll keep it at the bottom. Vase B has a volume of V. So in other words, it's working backwards, which means you should be dividing. So we need to take the volume of the larger vase and divide it by our scale factor. But it's volume, so it's cubed. When you divide by 3/2 cubed, it's multiply by the reciprocal. It's KFC, keep, flip, change. So 2/3 cubed, 8/27. And that's our formula. But let's just tidy it up. 8V over 27. That'll do nicely. Number 18, as bog standard, a trigonometry question, as you can hope for, if I'm honest. It's a standard 3 marks. You want PR. You haven't got an angle and its opposite side, so it can't be the sine rule. It's the cosine rule. So PR squared is equal to 17.8 squared added to 26.3 squared. Take away 2 lots of these sides multiplied. Going to need to go onto another line here. And it's the cosine rule, so it's cos 36. We stick all that in our calculator and we should get 251-ish. But don't forget to do as you're told. 3 significant figures. So when we square root that, we should get 15.84. But 3 sig figs, the 4 levels off. So 15.8. Number 19, we've got a histogram. Now I'll do all the workings out. Frequency, another word for frequency is area. Always a good idea to write down your widths. So it's 20, 15, 5, and 10. And to find out frequency density, another word for frequency density is height. So we need to do area divided by width to get height. So 15 divided by 20, do 48 divided by 15, 21 divided by 5, and 16 divided by 10. And let me demonstrate why I normally draw these. So we need to go from 20 right the way up to 3.2, hopefully, and from 35 up to 4.2. Same again for 40. Let's just nudge that to the right a bit, because I missed. And the final bar needs to go up to 1.6. So 1.5, that'll do. So we just need to level these off. So 0.75 is a boot there. A little bit lower, do you reckon? That's better. Let's finish that off. And that. And you know what? Don't think I've done a bad job there. But I'd hope sincerely that yours is as good as, if not better. Number 20. As always, I am going to talk through the reasons. I'm not going to write out the reasons. I have written out the reasons in full on my worked answers. So the first thing I will actually do is create a couple of triangles, in particular that one right there. And you could do another one. But let's stick with this. And why would we draw that on there? Because the key circle theorem here is the alternate segment theorem. So let's ignore that bit, not looking at the triangle BCD. I'm only looking at the other triangle for now. So we've got a 71 here on the left hand side. That is 71 there. Why? Reason you give, alternate segment theorem. Now we check out the fact we've got an isosceles triangle, because that's 71 as well, because the base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal. That tells us what the angle up here is, because angles in a triangle make 180. So 180 minus the two 71s give us 38. What did it actually want? It wanted BCD. We can now bring the final part of the diagram into play, because we are now looking at a cyclic quadrilateral. Opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral make 180. So 180 minus the opposite angle of 38 gives us the angle BCD as being 142. Number 21. So one of them questions where it might not feel like they've given us enough information, but actually they have. Because they haven't told me the height, they haven't told me the area. No, but they've told you that you multiply and divide by 3 to go between one and the other. So H is there, R is there. So, I know it's not accurately drawn, but I think it's fair to say we can assume R is the height divided by 3. We only need to which way around are they? Well, it's obviously not the other way around with the 3. Anyway, I digress. Given that the solid has volume, so we can now consult our formula page. Volume is going to be, it's the hemisphere. So a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. We've got half of that. And for the cylinder, it's pi r squared times by h. And that equals 792 pi. everything's got a pi in. That's the first bit of cancelling to do. So from this line to the next, I'll do a little bit of tidying up, but I'm also going to replace the radius with h over 3. So 4/3 halved is 2/3. Let's replace the r with h over 3. The r becomes h over 3 again. Oops, it's squared. And on we go. So this first term, when we cube it, we end up with 2h cubed on the top. On the bottom, it's 3 cubed, 27 trebled. So there's 81. Over here, we've also got h cubed, but it's over 3 squared. And basically, these are the same of the same sort. So they're both h cubed. So if you add 2 81ths added to 1/9, you get 11 over 81 equals 792. And now it's just a matter of grabbing your calculator, hitting 792 times by 81 divided by 11, and that's what h cubed is, 5832. So when you cube root that, h is 18. That's not your answer though. It says work out the height of the solid. The height of the solid is the height of the cylinder plus that extra distance, which is r. So we need to do h plus r. R is 1/3 the size, so total height is 24. Number 22, we've got the sine curve. So what's happened to it? Always worth discussing in your head if you're in exam conditions, or out loud if you're like me now. So what does a 2 in front do? It stretches a graph vertically, scale factor 2. So it means that it will go up to 2 and down to -2. Plus 30 moves it opposite to what you'd expect. It moves it left 30 degrees. So the way I would go about drawing it, double the height of that and move it left 30. The 180 here, you can't double the height is 0, but you can move it left 30. This minimum point, double it down to there, left 30, and this 360 goes there. So the shape you're looking for, and I'm about to murder it, me and this electronic pen. Oh God. Definitely worth one more go, I reckon. A little bit better. Oh, flipping heck. Right. 1 out of 10 for that. If yours isn't better than mine, trust me, do it again. Part BI, it's still translations, but it's not really related. So we complete the square. We halve the number next to x. We square it and take it away. We then need to collect our like terms. In other words, the constants on the end simplify to +1. Hence describe fully. Whoops, forgot the squared. So what kind of transformation is this and this? It's a translation. And you tell it as a vector. Horizontally, you change the sign. So you change the sign of the x, but vertically, you leave it alone. It's a +1. Question 23. So this requires a little bit of knowledge of what the heck is a kite. because it is as simple as that, because it says you've got a kite. It says AB and AD are the same. CB and CD are the same. So obviously A's up there, C's down there. So find an equation of the line AC. So the diagram isn't needed to help you with the work, but it is designed to help you with. So A to C is going to meet the line B to D at not only a right angle, but also at the midpoint. So we need both the midpoint. Let's do that first. So BD, midpoint. We average the x's and we average the y's. So 10 plus 2 is 12, halved. 19 plus 7, halved, gives us 13. We then need the gradient of BD. The change in y's, 19 to 7, means it goes up by 12, and 10 to 2 goes up by 8. So the gradient is 3 over 2. But now we want to concentrate on AC. So the gradient of AC is the negative reciprocal. Flip it and change the sign. Once you've realized you've got the gradient and a coordinate it goes through, you could use y minus y1 equals m into x minus x1. Some teachers will avoid that and they'll simply go for y equals mx plus c. So y equals mx plus c. We know what y is. It's 13. M is the gradient here, negative 2/3, multiplied by the x-coordinate, 6. So you grab your calc to find c. You do 13 plus 12 over 3. In other words, 13 plus 4. And now you've got everything you need. You've got the gradient. You've got the intercept. Whoops. You're jumping straight to there. You've got the gradient. You've got the intercept. You've got the equation in the form y equals mx plus c. But if you just scan back to the question, it wanted it in that form. So we are just going to treble everything. Y is right plus c. Ah, well. And now we add 2x to both sides. And we're done. And finally, number 24. Not the worst way to end it, as long as you're wide awake on what you need to do. So the definition of speed is rate at which, or velocity, who cares, rate at which distance changes with respect to time. So bring the power down, 3 times 1, take 1 off the power, bring the power down, take 1 off the power, 5t differentiates to 5, and minus 4 disappears. But we want acceleration. Acceleration, the definition is the rate at which the velocity changes with respect to time. In other words, double differentiate. Bring the power down, take 1 off the power. Minus 12t becomes minus 12. Positive 5, also known as a constant. Constants disappear when you differentiate, and it says is 3. Let's solve it. Add 12 to both sides. Divide both sides by 6. Or in other words, 15 divided by 6 gives us 2.5 seconds, and we're done. So I hope that's helped you on this paper. I'll see you on the next one.